I
Thank you so much.
yes, yes, yes. They are rolling in. Somebody's
Different.
hey Queen, hello. They just rolling in. Hi, hi, Miss Cheryl. Hello, how you doing? Hey, Denise. Who else you see up in there? Some people are rolling in.
Hi,
All,
Denise. I have to see a curvy thrill. Hello.
all the queens are present today. The royal queens of whatever
Yeah.
providence it may be. Oh, there is okay, that's Denise said, hey.
You have to put my glasses on.
Hey,
Hi.
hey, Brenda, how you doing, sis? All right. You had a good day today, Pamela?
Yeah, I had a great day. How was your
It
day?
was good. It was good.
Good.
Very busy today, but it was really good. Uh-huh. Uh, uh,
Hi.
just to tell role model, the producer Sean Brown, in the office, there's some noise, and you know what that noise is. They're doing a solo in the background. Okay. All right. He knows. That's the best way I could do it.
And
Woo.
hello to Facebook.
Uh-huh. And good body discipline. Yes. Hello, Facebook. Hello. Is it do I hit
Shirley Allen, hello. And good body
yes.
underscore discipline, hello. Hello to everyone that's joining. Hello to the ones
Yes.
that's joining on Facebook as well. I hope you guys had an awesome day.
Yes, yes.
Blessed
Blessing.
to you.
Yes, the same to you also. Yes, yes. All right. I'm just checking on. I'm going to be looking on Facebook, so I have my iPad here looking for comments. And
Nice.
then if you can look on your side, look for Instagram, and we can kind of
Okay.
get that going on.
Do that.
Uh-huh. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I hope that it's doing. Let me hit it. It says live. I don't know.
Do you have the comments turned on so you can
Hmm.
see the comments?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. It's just I don't see our background. Mr. Brown can check that out. If not, then we just roll it. All right, but let's go ahead and get started, Pamela. I am so excited. Facebook family, thank you for coming in, everyone. When we had Elbert, our guest, we just had some good laughs and we had some good information and some dialogue was taking place. And I had prayed about it and I said, God, are we finished with trust? And more
Mm,
revelation knowledge was coming. So that was my answer that we weren't finished because trust is a very serious issue, especially for women. Not only is it a psychological state, Pamela, but it's also our emotions are attached to trust.
they are.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And well, Pam, before we get in, because we might have some new people, we just saying they said, well, who's Pam, who's Cheryl? And I'm Cheryl Brown, licensed family marriage therapist.
And I'm Pamela Shakir, licensed clinical social worker.
And Pamela, kind of tell them about Authentic Talk. What is it? I always say what it is, but go from your aspect. What do you want to pull into that?
So, Authentic Talk is where we come together to discuss real life and real stories. We are two therapists, but we come from a different background as far as our credentials, but we are like minded. We are faith based Christians. And so you will hear us speak about some things in the Bible as well as some practical things that, maybe non believers would like to use as far as like some coping skills or what they can relate to as far as their stories and their backgrounds or other people's story and background.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you're going to recognize about us is that we love to laugh, we love to have fun, and I keeps it real, like real. And so sometime I'm checking with Cheryl saying, okay, Cheryl, was that too real? And Cheryl was like, nah, you was fine. So
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
sit back and get your paper and pen and get ready to take some notes because this is going to be an exciting live tonight. It's going to be good.
Mm-hmm. And
Mhm.
here's the question I want to address to the family. Have you ever trusted someone so hard? And let me don't rush. God, when we open our mouth, you speak, and the wisdom
Yes.
will flow. Now, let me get back to the question. This is to the audience, and somebody just put yes, that, and so forth. Have you ever trusted someone so hard that when that person violated your trust, it was like your mind and your emotions are lost at sea?
Mhm.
Okay. And the reason why I posed that question, Pamela, in the Authentic Talk family, I was talking to a beautiful seasoned woman, and I was just getting her advice about, I call the seasoned women and asked her about advice about things. And I asked her, what was her experience about trust? Did she was her trust vandalized? Do pain hurt or whatever? Somebody said yes, and
Yeah.
she said this because I know her for a long time. She has been my spiritual mentor and so forth. And she
Nice.
said that, her mother and father had a good relationship, so they trusted each other. But when she had got married, hey, Albert, she said when she got married, her husband was roaming around like a cat.
Oh my
Somebody
gosh.
type in purr, roaming around like a cat. And she said that what had happened was that he violated her trust so much that she didn't know what to do. She
Mm.
didn't know what to do mentally. She didn't know what to do emotionally. And so many times what I had indicated for are healthy emotions attached or embraced to trust. So when a woman is hurt or pain, betrayal as a byproduct of someone in their life violating their trust, the negative emotions and thoughts become entangled. Isn't that deep? Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
deep. So, Queen, so Pamela and I today are going to just dissect why women trust so hard. That's what we go.
He said he was for a godly body underscore discipline said he was for the streets. Oh no. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he was for the streets.
He was a street cat.
Uh,
Okay. So so here in our last show, Pamela, won't you give them the definition that we came up with, please, for what is trust? And then I want to add on to that because that you and Albert had some excellent definitions.
Yeah. So I was saying that it is our belief that we feel like the person that we went is honest with us, they're dependable, and that we can trust them, and that they're reliable. We feel like that if we're not in their eyesight, or if we're not with them, we don't have to look over our shoulders and wonder if they're going to keep our hearts with them, or they're going to take care of our hearts, when they're away from us. We feel like trust is that we don't want to have to go looking in your phone. We don't have to double check what's going on. If you say you're somewhere, that's where you at. If you say that you are going to be home by a certain time, you also are going to be that time. And then I want to say that Albert was saying a little bit in regards to that the what help me with that. When he said it, I said, "Oh, he's right on target." He was speaking in terms of like when the trust is there, you don't have to. Gosh, what did Albert say? He said a good thing.
What
Albert, you on here? What did you say, Albert? He said a really good thing.
he'll type it in. He'll type
Okay.
a person of character who oh, it went too quick. Okay, it went too quick.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. God is was meant for me to tune in today. You welcome,
Yeah.
Queen. You're
Tell us,
welcome.
Albert. I don't want to mess up your words, but he said a really, great point about trust. But that's what I remember what I said.
Okay.
So
Well, he'll
forgive me, y'all.
he'll type that in. But then I said those were excellent definition, and all I just wanted to do
Yes.
what is interweaving, what is woven into that was that
Mhm.
these are the criterias for good trust is that the person's character. Okay,
Yes.
and then we talked about do they have a good track record. Then we talked
Hmm.
about do they keep their word? That's so important.
That's
Then
important.
and then what are their intentions? That is so important.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
their intentions? And
Yes.
then how do they handle a situation? Can you trust them when things are not good? See, that's
Oh,
important.
now that's important.
Uh-huh. Can you trust them when
Mhm.
things how do they disappear or they
Yeah.
stand right there? So those are
Yeah.
very important. So we talked about that. Um
Mhm.
and Pamela, I want you to. We said, uh, I want the Authentic Talk family to ask yourself this question: How was trust? And I thought this was good, Pamela. How was trust presented to you by the
Mm.
first male figure in your life?
Oh, yeah, that's a real good one.
Let me say it again. How was trust presented to you? I hope you're writing this down. How was trust presented to you with the first male figure in your life?
Mhm.
Pamela, hit on that a little bit. You know, you was talking of um, let's hit on that, and then I want to talk about that exam or test online that you were talking about.
Yeah. So the first male figure usually is your father. If it's
Mm-hmm.
not your father, it might be your uncles or it may be your stepfather. But usually it's your father. And so you look for him to keep his word. And you also look at how he treats your mom. And
Mm-hmm.
so when that trust is broken, meaning whatever you see in front of you as far as with your parents, if you see how they trust, that's how you will typically trust. If you
Mm-hmm.
see how they mistrust, you would automatically place that in your mind, especially if there's been some infidelity in the relationship. You'll place it in your mind and you'll automatically say, you know what? I'm not going to trust any women because I saw my mom did this and that, or I'm not going to trust any men because I saw my father did this and that to my mom. He broke my mom's heart. He made her cry. And so you've already placed that theme in your mind about men or about women. And so when you enter out into the world, you may say you're not going to do it, but for some reason, you may gravitate towards that same type of person because remember, what we see in front of us, ladies, when we see our dads, we typically pick men that's kind of similar to our dad because that's our first impression or our first experience with a male in a appropriate way. But and also with men, you typically go out and you find women that's kind of like your mom. If your mom was the type of person that was nurturing and she cooked and she kept the house clean, you were used to that, so you want to go out and get that same type of woman.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that first, introduction comes in.
So then I was thinking about parent, and then when it comes to trust, when you
Mhm.
trusting someone, then what you're in hopes that it matches the trust that you receive from the first male figure in your life.
Yeah, you're hoping that. Yeah.
You're hoping that because if you come from a father that you had trust and you saw he kept his word, good character, what,
Yeah.
then
Took
you are
care of the house
th-
and the bills.
that be your
Yeah.
checklist when
That's your
you meet
checklist.
somebody else, and that's your list that you go
Mhm.
forth. But then
Yeah.
also I thought about is that when little girls don't get the best, they're not introduced to trust like they want to, or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be, then what
Mhm.
happen is that they'll try to find a male figure to fix what they didn't get
That's
initially from the
correct.
initial male figure.
Yes, or they'll look at their friend's dad, and
Mm-hmm.
if their friend's dad
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
their friend's mom
Mm-hmm.
is the type of parent that they always wanted, they will go off of that as well.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. So that's a good question. Now, Pamela, so for we don't forget, tell them that the online how you can the.
Yes. So
Mhm,
I strongly encourage you guys if you are struggling in relationships, or even if you're just curious and you want to know how your attachment style is, you can go to attachmentproject.com.
mhm,
If somebody can type that in the chat box, attachment project is one word.com, and there is an attachment quiz. You click on it, it's a few questions, it doesn't take long, it's probably like less than 10 minutes. You click on it and then it give you your results to let you know what your attachment style is. Now, if yours come back secure, that means that you've seen healthy examples around you, or you're healthy, or you've done the work to get healthy. And so that way you'll know that moving forward, your attachment, you're going to want that same type of attachment. If yours come back as being anxious, preoccupied, that basically means that you struggle in that area with relationship, you struggle with trust, and you don't really know how to pick out the healthy relationships. And so you can look at what does a secure attachment look like to kind of figure out some areas that you need to work on. There are some other attachment styles along with it, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to get too deep into it. But they'll be on there and you can read just to be curious. If yours come back different, you can read the other attachment styles. So that way you will know that if you encounter someone that's showing up like that, you automatically know there's going to be a struggle in a relationship if theirs is not secure.
mhm, mhm. And that is so important,
Yes.
Pamela, because when we meet a person and they present themselves so well, but
I
then
mean, so
So well,
well.
so well. But
Charming,
yeah,
just smelling good,
right. But
looking
good,
good,
bow legged, all that stuff.
all that
All
tall,
yeah,
whatever, the right
the
words.
right word. But you have to marinate for a while and just and see what they're all about, because that
Mhm.
one thing that is a red flag will delete everything else that's good about that person,
It
because
will.
that one seed that is ignored will grow and choke the relationship, and that
Yes.
is so important. Well, here it is. Okay, so let's get to it. Why do women trust so hard? And Pamela, I had one reason is that their validation, because trust. Validation evolves from trust. Let's go back
Mhm.
to your father figure. The father figure, the purpose of a father figure being in their daughter's
Yes.
life, one of them is to be validated. Just like men, you need to be validated by your mother. See, that's how, when we have that validation to taking place, a trust taking place, then you know what type of relationship that you should be in. Then you also know how to provide the same to that other person in the relationship. And so what had came to me, one reason is that the validation is enveloped within the
Mhm.
initial trust encounter, and, or in other words, validation. Somebody write this down. Validation is wrapped around trust.
Mhm.
Validation is wrapped around trust, and
Mhm.
that is so important. And then another one, Pamela, and I want you to hit on some, is that it's our innate makeup. Somebody write that down. That's our innate makeup. And you remember we was talking about that on the phone, Pamela?
Mhm.
Our
Mhm.
innate makeup is that we are nurturers. Okay, that's
Yes, we
automatic.
are.
We're
Mhm.
maintenance keepers.
Mhm.
We are emotional connected. Girls are more
Mhm.
women. Girls and young girls, they're more emotional, and I can relate to that. I see Paris and her friend, the girl, and they have a little young son, and they'll
Mhm.
be get into something, they just crying, and one going up the stairs, and the other one is consoling, and the little boy, he's only 2, he just look at them and he walk, he look at them like,
Uh,
I can't relate to this.
he can.
Uh,
It's, he
he,
doesn't have that much hormones in him, that estrogen. He doesn't have a
yeah,
lot of that. Yeah.
exactly. And so it's general to him, well, it's
Yeah.
detail to the girls. So ladies, what we're trying to say is trust
Mhm.
is detailed to us, where
It
it's
is.
more general to men. Not say it's not of importance, especially when you have a
Mhm.
good man, but it's more
Mhm.
general to them, and it's not as deep in detail as it is for us. So our general makeup, our innate makeup, is that we're nurturers, we're maintenance keepers, we're emotionally
Mhm.
connected. And watch this, trust, as I said before, somebody write this down. Trust is a psychological state with the emotional attachment. Now,
Yes.
so once you realize that, we're going to talk about how to overcome, and how you realize that you got to learn how to put your emotions behind you, in front of you.
Mhm.
So when
Mhm.
someone that you lose your, there, you can't trust them, or something happens, then your emotions are not all involved. Because when your
Mhm.
emotions, like my seasoned friend, she said, I didn't know what to do. So
Mm.
her emotions and her mind
She
was,
was in shock,
uh,
probably.
her
She
emotion
was in
minds were
shock.
lost out in the sea.
Mhm.
Okay, Pamela,
Yeah.
add on something on that.
Yeah. So just like what I was saying, she was shocked. She was probably so heartbroken. And sometimes when you are so heartbroken, you don't know what to do. So the best thing, honestly, to do is to not do anything. Just try to take care of yourself the best way you can
Hmm.
during that time until you can process what's happening in your life. But one thing I wanted to say, go back on when you said, why do women trust so much? I was thinking about, when you enter in a relationship and everything is good until that trust is violated, you still see the beauty in that person. You still see the beauty in that relationship because you like that person so much. You're hopeful
Hmm.
that they're going to change. And so you stay in that relationship. And so when you have been in a relationship where the trust has been broken multiple times, then you're not there for the beauty of the relationship. You're hanging on to that person for certain specific things. Maybe a woman that is not financially stable and the boyfriend or husband is, and she counts on him to pay certain things or to take care of her and sometimes her and her children, she may stay in that relationship longer.
Hmm.
Men may stay in the relationship longer because they like the way that person takes care of them. They
Hmm.
like that nurturing part. They like, how she lays out his clothes for him, irons his clothes, and maybe run the shower for him, so he stay in that relationship, although he may peep outside, or a woman may peep outside. They like other things in the other person, so they divide it up amongst the people instead of bringing everything out of that person and being with that one person. You can get what you really need in that person if you are linked to the right person.
But see, but
So
Pamela, then that's my thing is that some people marry people just for convenience and what they can do for them. So
yes,
that means that they may love them, but they're not in love with them.
they're not in
And
love
there's
with
a
them.
difference between the two, a love and,
Mhm.
and being in love. That's another topic. And you know,
Yes.
and while we're flowing with that, then Pamela, is a lot of people. And you flow right into why people stay in these relationships. Let's go for it. We
Mhm.
just gonna go. We're going there,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah,
um,
let's go there.
Number one, time invested. I hear a lot
Yeah.
of people say I invested a lot of time, but
Mhm.
you invest a lot of time with very little dividends.
Very little dividends. You're not happy, so I don't quite understand the time part, but I hear it.
Yeah,
I hear that as well.
I invested a lot of time. That means that I put a lot into relationships. I put a lot of work into this relationship. We've been
Yes.
together for 4 or 5 years,
Longer than that sometimes.
longer than that sometime. And
Mhm.
that time invested, that's one reason why people, and what you had said. Another one,
Mhm.
embarrassment. And I
Yeah.
think
Oh,
and I think you and I talked about
that's huge.
watch this. I'm embarrassed. That's why I
Mhm.
stay in there, because I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed that I failed as a nurturer. I
Yes.
failed as a maintenance keeper. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I
Mhm.
failed as my part as a woman to contribute to this relationship. And that's really a lot of things that bothers people. Somebody said 15 years strong and
Strong.
strong. That's deep.
Yes, that's
Okay.
real deep.
Er-
And here's the thing, you're really not failing at being the nurturer or the maintenance keeper or being emotionally connected to that person. The person that violates your trust is the one that's failed.
mhm.
It's just the shame and embarrassment comes upon us, and it makes us feel like we're not good enough, or did we not do something,
Mhm.
or maybe you fall into the stages of grief and loss, and you start bargaining with yourself. Maybe if I would have did this, she probably wouldn't have went and liked this person, or maybe if I would have did this, maybe if I'd have cooked 2 and 3 more extra days, he would have stayed there. Because a lot of times when people violate the trust, they will come with this weighed out excuse as to why they stepped outside of the relationship. You say, well, what happened? Why is it? Oh, because I want someone that could rub my back, and you don't rub my back. Just like stuff that don't make sense. And that would, in the person that they tell this to, it sticks on them, Cheryl, and they begin to really believe that when that person come home, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take care of them until they go to sleep.
Mhm.
When that's not even really the truth. They're just
Mhm.
not really ready to
Mhm.
be in the relationship, and they don't respect the relationship. It has nothing to do with you.
Well,
Cheating
then
has nothing to do
well,
with the
then
person.
add on to that, Pamela, is that then that person is not mature enough to receive what you're willing to provide. That's what
No,
that is. That they're not mature. There's a lot of people that should never get married because they're not mature. So you don't get married and you are okay, I'm going to be this good husband or what. You have to have those potentials before you go in.
yeah,
And a lot of people
yeah,
think, well, when I get married, well, I'm gonna go there. Here we go. Another reason why people stay in there is that or why they are so hard about trusting someone. I'm going
mhm.
to change them, and
Oh
I
my
hear, yo,
gosh.
you can't, ladies and listen to me carefully. You are not a mechanic shop. You're not a mechanic shop.
Ooh,
I can repair him. You can't repair anybody against their
you
will.
don't have enough money
Money.
to
And if
pay for those parts.
Right, and some people not, and some people beyond repair, they need an
Oh my
overhaul, or
gosh, yes.
and so if they don't allow God to change them, that's the bottom line.
Oh my
What
gosh.
make you think you're gonna change them?
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. If trust is not in their heart,
Nope.
it cannot be provided through their actions.
No, the
Somebody
behavior
write
will
that
not
down.
change.
Write that down. If trust is not within their heart,
Yes.
then it will not be displayed through their actions. That's the
No,
bottom line. There's just some people, they don't,
no,
they're, in their heart, they just don't trust. Why? And you have to go back to their, or what, go to their origin,
exactly.
their beginning
Hmm.
state, because they may not have trust with their mother, or vice
Yes.
versa. A traumatic event as a
Hmm.
trauma as a child, and they put up all
Yes.
these walls. So I'm never going to trust anybody. I want somebody, but I'm not going
And
to ever
be
trust.
broken. Be
Yes,
broken and will never go get any therapy. Oh no, no, I'm not going to get any therapy. I don't need any therapy.
exactly.
I don't need nobody to tell me what I already know. You
Hmm.
really don't know.
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
thing. You
Hmm.
really don't
Hmm.
know. And so you just run around and enter into different relationships
Hmm.
with your broken self instead
Hmm.
of just like pausing and saying, let me heal instead
Hmm.
of getting into another relationship, you know?
Exactly, exactly. So we had that. You said with time investment, embarrassment, resource. You know,
Mhm.
I might not have enough money to make it without him or her.
Yes.
Yes, you do. You know, because watch this. As long as you have your peace, and
Yes.
long as you have, and you can trust in God, which we're going to talk about,
Mhm.
you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna be okay. You just have to have a plan. Well, I can't leave because he provided all this or whatever, but you're miserable.
Exactly.
You're like a robot in your
Mhm.
home. You
And if
just
you're gonna stay there, I'm sorry, sure,
go
go
no, go
ahead.
ahead. No,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, if you're gonna stay there, prepare yourself. You know, if you're gonna stay there, go and take up some training. Go and go back to school, get a better job so you can be able to take care of your needs. But no one, male or female, deserves to be in a relationship with someone that's breaking their trust multiple times and you're unhappy and you just feeling like you have to stay there.
Mhm.
Prepare yourself for the exit.
Or Pamela, let me do the other flip side. Say, for
Yeah.
instance, you're in a relationship, and the person was not faithful, infidelity was taking place, but they
Mhm.
change. You guys both decide to stay in
Yeah.
there. The third party is no longer involved. This person's really
Mhm.
changing, building a trust,
Mhm.
but the woman or man can't forgive their spouse. Okay,
Oh,
now,
wow.
now this is a true story, and this person decide to stay in the marriage. Okay, but they are making that person suffer for what they experience in life. That's the most miserable thing. And
Yes.
somebody listen to me very carefully. If that's you or somebody, and you're making that person suffer for what they did in the past, and they're trying to change, then what happened
Yes.
is now you now no longer you trust them, but now you're walking unforgiveness. And the bottom line of this story, this person's spouse is very ill because see, watch, unforgiveness will make you sick.
It will eat you up
it
inside.
it would make you, it can kill you. And then
Yes.
you pass, that person passed away, and this other person's
Mhm.
going, they try. People make
Mhm.
mistakes, but if they, you guys decide to stay in the relationship,
Yeah,
you cannot use the past
you
as a
can't.
carrot to
You
hold over
can't.
their head to remind them over and over and over
Over and
again.
over.
Because Pam, the person will get burnt out and say, oh, I'm done. You know, you
Yeah.
can't, I'm moving on. So
Mhm.
if you're going to stay, then you guys work on each other,
Mhm.
and get things resolved. Go to counseling.
Yes.
Make your plan. This is what we're going to do.
Mhm.
Work on that
Fight
trust.
there.
Yeah, work on that trust and so forth, and go on, because
Mhm.
there are people who have healthy marriages now, and
There
life goes on. But if you're
it
going to
is.
stay in a relationship and make that person suffer, that's not good, because you
It's
suffering
not good.
also.
Yeah, and the people that are able to get it together, they turn out to be the best advice givers. Like when they come together, they make magic because they've been there, they walked it, they talked it, they
Hmm.
went through whatever it is that they had to fight for their marriage
Hmm.
or their relationship, and they be the best advice givers. We
Hmm.
had a comment that said basically like, let me see, I don't know if we can bring it back. But it was saying basically because Stan in a relationship. I missed it, Donnie. I'm sorry. I was trying to keep it. But basically she was saying that the branches is not bearing fruit.
Hmm. Hmm.
So so it's pruned. And then the other one says total dependence belongs to God, not man. That is so correct.
And that's what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
That's totally right, Gwen. That is totally right.
Yes.
Pamela, let's. I told you I'm gonna let you do that one. Okay, hope he would change. Women tolerate more than men. We talked about that. Make him suffer. Now let's get to that sex part, okay? And some people stay in that. And where we coming from that, Pamela, maybe we was laughing and talking on the phone, but where we coming from that is this person doesn't. I'm just talking in general. I've heard people in the past, they don't trust that person at all. But they love that person. They don't trust that person. But as soon as they make a decision that they're about to leave or whatever, and the other person can feel it, then
Yeah.
they'll use that sex to keep them. In
Mhm.
other words, keep them under their spell. Because when you have a sex
Yes.
with a person, their soul belongs to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ampada.
So think about it. When you're in a disagreement, you have an argument, some people don't talk, some people do talk, and then the best part about it is the makeup.
Mm-hmm.
See, the makeup is real good because you fall into that honeymoon phase, that cycle
Mm-hmm.
where you make up, everything is good,
Mm-hmm.
y'all texting each other these good morning messages, and sometimes people are texting, they call it is it sexing, with their spouse where they're texting them, when I get home, I'm gonna do this to you and blah blah blah. And so you're in that mode of that honeymoon phase. It feels so good. The makeup, you
Mm-hmm.
going out to dinner with each other, y'all
Mm-hmm.
going to the movies, and so all of that feels good. And that is what the man or the woman loves about that other person.
Mm.
That's a part of when they first meet you, they pursue you like that, and they do these things, and so that's what they pull back out of their pocket when things get rough. I
Mm-hmm.
got to go back and pursue again, and so I need to go back and do what I did to get the person. And so that keeps them locked into, I called it the lust of the relationship. Because when
Mm.
you lust for someone, you desire them, you crave them, you're not thinking about all the other kind of things. And so that's where you fall back into that. But let me tell you this, women, this is for women because I can't speak for a man. You may say that, you know what, I this he makes good love to me and I enjoy it and this is what I like. But I'm telling you, there can be another man out there that can bring so many other things out of you and fulfill you in the room and fulfill you outside of the room. They can make you even a better woman. Your ideals become more brighter, your outlook on life will become more better. It's
Mm-hmm.
not always about that sex, because there is somebody else out there, when they treat you good, they're gonna make real good love to you. Now I know
Mm-hmm.
y'all weren't prepared for this live tonight, but we're gonna, what did I say
Ooh.
earlier? We keeps it real, and I like to keep it real. They will make love to you to where not only they're making love to you physically, they're making love to you and you're making love to your mind, your
And
body, and your soul. But we talk about married people.
Uh, and then so Pamela, so when a person get in a relationship and that person
Yes.
want that know to keep them sexually, then that's
Yeah.
just one part of
That's just
it.
one
That's
part,
just
but that
so
other person can bring
they're not
everything
getting the
else.
whole
No,
package. They're
no, they're
not
not
getting the
getting the whole
whole
package.
they're not getting the whole package because look,
No,
because the sex may be good,
it may be
but the
good,
but the
fantastic,
but the trust, if the trust is not there,
but you can't trust him, and
no.
he may be out there sharing it with somebody else, and you got to look over your shoulders.
Uh-huh.
It's not worth it, and you're nervous, your stomach is upset, you anxious all the time. It's not worth it. Where you can wait, or
Mhm.
you can get out of that situation if that's what God tell you, and you can find the one that can give you all of that good loving and
Mhm.
all of the other qualities on the side.
So you have to decide if you want to be ADT or ring.
That's it.
That means you the alarm system because you can't trust,
Yeah.
or you wait and you have peace.
You have peace
And that
and get all that good loving too.
uh-huh, uh-huh. And the viewing audience now and those who are gonna be
Mhm.
watching it afterwards, you said I
Yes.
haven't been trusting in a long time. And
Mm.
some people think that is their plot in life. That is not your plot in life.
Mhm.
God has so much better in store for you, and
Yes.
you do be right by the person, and
Yes, you
then
do.
God. And one thing I learned, when I'm right by a person and operate in love, then God got
Yes.
my back and he will take care of everything else.
Yes.
And that's the whole, I think somebody really need to hear, be right by the person.
Yes.
Cause
Walk in love.
walk in love. Cause one thing about it, God will always protect you. God
Always.
has your back, and that is so important. Pamela, what about this? Is that people stay in the relationship, especially when they don't trust somebody, especially when they have small kids or teen, for the sake of the kids. I hear that
Yeah,
all the time.
I
Um,
hear it
all the
too.
time, sake of the kids, and then when the and that is a big decision, you know what I'm saying, because they
Yeah.
want the kids to have both the mother and the father, but yet still
Mhm.
that person is miserable because they don't trust that person.
Yeah.
Hit on that a little bit, Pamela.
Okay. So sometimes, because I service, children and adults. And so believe it or not, parents, children doesn't always want you to stay in these unhealthy relationships because they
Mm-hmm.
want you to be happy. And so
Mm-hmm.
you have your kids, especially teenagers, they'll start thinking in their mind ways to hurt the other person because they're tired of the person hurting you. So that may not always be the best decision. You guys can be awesome co-parents and be at every important function,
Mm-hmm.
birthday parties, and get along well for the sake of the kids. You guys can do that. There's many people that's doing that and modeling that before your eyes. You may not see everyone do it, but there is a lot of people out there that's doing it because it's just much better for the child to grow up in a healthy environment to where they can have a secure attachment and
Mm-hmm.
not us as adults causing them to have an anxious attachment and stand in the relationship longer because we think the kids want us to be there together.
Mhm. Because when
Yeah.
because when they stay in that relationship like that, then it becomes like a triangle, and then the child
Yes.
is involved, and then in essence, what happened is the
Mhm.
mother isolate herself from the father sometimes, and then the child, she marries the child because she depends on him to be what she expect the husband to be, and that's a big
Yes.
responsibility. That's one of the theories
Too
that
much.
it's just too much. But
It's
when
too
there
much.
is that mother father decide that I have to go on,
Mhm.
then their soul has a chance to prosper. And when their
Yeah.
soul, that's their mind, the will, the intellect, emotions, but I'm talking
Mhm.
about their mind and emotions, when it is prospering,
Yes.
when it's healthy, then they'll be
Mhm.
able to nurture and impart into the child
Yes.
at a
Exactly.
different level, at a healthier level. And that is so important. Like Pamela says, some of the kids say, look, it's so much more peaceful.
It's peaceful.
Mom is not pacing the floor. I don't hear mom crying behind the closed door.
Exactly.
Mom is making our food better. It's not burnt like it used to be, and
It can
these are
be a lot of things
it could be a
affected.
lot of things. So
Yes.
but a lot of times, but they've been taught in the past, well, I'm not going to leave because we know I don't want to be selfish, but I have to for the sake of the kids. And that
Yeah.
is, and like you said, and many times the kids are seeing things that the father, mother's doing that's not right. And then
It's
after
not.
a while, they'll start emulating that because one,
Mhm.
they'll start emulating because they think that's how it is, or two, when they get married, they make up in their mind that I'm not going to be like my mother or father. And so
Yes.
that's a good report because we hear about that
Yeah.
a whole lot. So,
And like you say, they'll start doing what they see their parent do.
mhm, mhm,
I've heard, kids say, "Oh, my dad took me over his girlfriend's house." So not good. So not
so
cool.
not good.
Yeah. Oh, I heard my mom on the phone talking to another man. So
So
not
not
good.
good.
So
Mm-mm,
not good. It
mm-mm,
just plants these seeds in front of your children to make them feel like it's okay
mhm,
to have
mhm,
multiple people and be a liar. Because we teach,
mhm,
sometimes, believe it or not, we teach our kids how to lie. We
mhm,
teach them how to keep secrets
mhm,
because we'll tell them, don't tell your daddy, blah, blah, blah. Don't tell your mama, blah, blah, blah. You're already teaching them how to keep secrets and to lie. And then when you confront them for doing this
mhm,
behavior, you taught them.
mhm,
You taught
mhm,
them how to do this.
mhm,
And so yeah, it's a lot to parenting and
mhm,
making those healthy decisions.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, it's a lot to it.
Yeah, and then you have to realize when they get older, even at the age they can understand, and you recognize those patterns, then apologize to look, I was wrong.
I was wrong.
Be grown up about it. Apologize. I was wrong.
Yes.
And therefore, and this is what we're going to change and make new. You don't have to be stuck
Mhm.
on the fact that this is just how it's going to be. Just apologize and you move on, and don't be in condemnation and head held
No.
down. And so, no, just
Mm-mm.
go on. But Pamela, some biblical characters we don't want to leave out. I just like reading the Bible. Some of the story I this is how I read it. I imagine myself there. I lean back and
Uh-huh.
I meditate on it. But the Donice, if you could type this in, First Kings. When I say Donice, that's my niece. First King, the 13th chapter, the one through the 32nd verse. Just read it in your own time. So that is First Kings 13th chapter, the first to the 32nd verse. And you read about this prophet, just to make it real short and simple. There was this prophet, and he went to go see this king, and he had gave him a word of, well, this is what thus says the Lord. Thank you, Donice. And so the king got kind of offended, and so he was going to stretch out his hand. He was going to harm him, and something happened to his hand. It shriveled and got messed up, and he said, "Man of God, pray for me that it." And so the prophet prayed, and the hand was restored. And he said, "Well, what kind of rewards can I give you?" And he
Mm.
said, and God told him that you don't want any rewards. He told him you don't eat from anybody's table, and
Wow.
you go home a different way. Okay, so this
Mhm.
is what. So why he was trusting what God told him to do. This is the point that I'm
Mhm.
trying to get. He was
Mhm.
trusting in what God told him to do. And so
Yes.
what happened is this old prophet, his children returned back home and told him what this prophet did and what God told him. So the old prophet, he said, "Where is he?" So he rode his horse or whatever and found him. And he said, God told him to come to his house to eat. Okay, so
Mhm.
this old prophet had lied. Okay, everybody see where I'm going with this? This old
Mhm.
prophet had lied. So he went to the house and he ate, and and then he when he left, and the old prophet said that you're going to die, and da da da. And so the when he was on the road, this lion had killed him. Now the lion, my understanding, the lion didn't eat him or anything, just killed him. So
Wow.
watch this: the donkey was standing by the dead body, and the lion had his paws crossed over, and they stayed right there. And then they buried his body where his ancestors and so forth. So the
Mhm.
point that I'm trying to make is this: is that do not. The whole thing is this: do not put your trust in man, but put your trust in
Mhm.
God. That's the
Yes.
key thing.
Yes.
That's for men and women, because when you put your trust in God, then
Mhm.
God will teach you how to be trustworthy to your mate.
Yes.
See,
And
that's
he'll
the
teach you how to trust yourself to make the
yes,
right decisions.
yes,
Yes.
yes, and that's the
Mhm.
whole key thing, is that when you trust God, see, that's because God will never misguide you. So He has a good
Never.
track record. His
Mm-mm.
character
He's
is
the best
flawless.
GPS.
Yes, his character is
Uh-huh.
flawless,
Uh-huh.
and so his intentions are great.
Yes,
So
they
and
are.
so so that was the key thing. And then the other one I had was First King. Somebody,
Mhm.
Donnie's typed this in. First King, the 17th chapter, the 17th to the 24th verse. Read that. So it's First Kings 17 through 24, and it was talking about the prophet Elijah. I think it was Elijah, or Eli, one of the Eli. Okay,
Elisha or Elijah.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. One of them. But they were staying at this woman's house, and she had made extra room for the prophet to
Yes.
come in.
Mhm.
So that when he's doing his travel, he can come and rest. And she gave him food,
Mhm.
and then told the servant, asked her what she want. She said, "I don't want anything." She was well off, her and her husband, whatever. Then the servant said, "But she doesn't have a child." And then the prophet said, "This time next year, you're going to have a child." And so
Yes.
watch, she trusted what he said.
Mhm.
And so that time, that year, he had a son. He's growing up now. He went into the fields, and his told his dad, "My head hurts, my head hurt." And so in essence, he did die, and they
Yes,
put
he
him in.
did.
But she didn't tell her husband. She didn't get him involved. She just said all is well. But watch this: she went back to him, to the
Mhm.
prophet, because
Yes.
she trusted him. Here it is:
Uh-huh.
she trusted him because he trusted God.
Yes, it was something about him that
Mm-hmm.
gave her this kind of like it
Reassurance.
had to been some reassurance or some kind of awe or the
Mm-hmm.
way he carried himself.
Mm-hmm.
She trusted
Because
him and took his
because
word
he
and took that, yeah, and she believed that he gave her that baby and her child, and nothing would happen to that child.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm sure that's probably why she went
Right.
back.
So authentic family, listen to me carefully. Is that do not don't put your trust in man, but put your trust in
Mhm.
God. One, and
Yeah.
number two is that about the prophet, she trusted him because she saw how he trusted God, and so
Yeah.
that
He
was
was
he
obedient.
was obedient, and
Yeah.
that is so important. And we're living in the days that you can't afford to get in a relationship that you don't
No.
trust anyone, and that is very important.
Yeah, you got to watch the behavior, the character. It goes back to
Mhm.
the fruit of the spirit. I
Mhm.
love the fruit of the spirits. I wish I would have thought about that years ago, but it
Mhm.
goes back to that.
Mhm.
Pay attention to the fruits that they bear. Like Donise was saying a little bit about it, but pay attention to those fruits that they bear.
Mhm.
Do they line up with those fruits that you're looking
Mhm.
for? There's some great qualities in a relationship
Mhm.
that is tainted, that's not good. That person may still have some great qualities. And so when you enter back out, if you come away from that and you enter back out into the dating scene once you heal, you can remember those great qualities that you like.
Mhm. Mm.
And that can be a telltale to let you know also that that might be, the person that you're meant to be with.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, Pamela, well, let's end this last section, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Is how do you overcome trust issues? There's a lot of them. I had looked, but let me just do a couple, and then and then we just take it from there.
Yes.
Number one is that I talked about it last week. Is that make sure you're
Mhm.
cognizant of your critical voice. That's the
Yes.
voice from the inside that is always criticizing you and telling that you're
Yes.
not perfect and this is why it happened to you.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
be aware of that critical voice that you deserve to be with this person because this is
Mhm.
what you did or whatever. And so learn how to turn that critical voice down because see that critical voice will keep you stuck in the past. The critical
I
voice,
mean,
isn't it something that
you won't be able to
you
sleep.
won't sleep, Pamela.
Yeah,
That
to take
critical
your app.
and so
Mhm.
forth. So make sure you're cognizant of, you're aware of your critical voice and learn how to tame it to turn that volume down. And so
Mhm.
that means how you turn it down, Cheryl, is make sure you have the right words. What words are you speaking, especially when that critical voice is louder than usual? What words are you speaking that contradict or opposes that critical voice? That is so important.
Yes, that's
Don't
so important.
don't let that voice just speak to you and don't let your mind just put pictures in your mind. See, there's going to be a
Create
point.
stories.
Yes, you're going to be a point. Like I tell my mind to shut up when something. I say, oh,
Mhm.
shut up.
Or call it into alignment with the
There you
word. My mind and my
mm,
body aligns with the word of God.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Speak it over you.
When your minds tell you no good, say no. Greater is He that is in me than he that is in the
Mhm.
world. I'm an overcomer by the blood of the Lamb, the words of my
Mhm.
testimony. Now I'm talking to,
Yeah.
and so what is your words? Say, well, Miss Brown, I'm not a believer. Well, then what is your word? That I'm a champion. I'm royalty. There's so many words
Yes.
that you can use.
I'm good enough. I am enough. I'm
Right.
loved. Yes.
There's enough words to use to turn that radio off of the critical
Exactly.
voice and to get that mind. Because see, that when you start speaking, then the mind have to shift and turn
Mhm.
to get all that negativity out and automatically cling on to what you are saying. So that is very
Yeah,
important.
very important.
And then I like what R.C. Blake say is you have to have a healing journey. Somebody type that in.
Mhm.
You have to have a healing journey within. You have to have a
Mm.
healing journey. You have to have a heal, and also I like to say you have to have a healing journal within too.
Yes.
And so it may include
Or
counseling.
have you a journal to write in as you're
Right. So
healing. Mhm.
inside now we're going on a journey with insight. See, what listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. We don't live from the outside in. You live from the inside out. The
That's correct.
real you is on the inside. This is just a physical
Mhm.
body. Oh, that's good, Pamela.
Yeah,
This outside is the representation of who you really are on the
you really
inside.
are. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's why you go to therapy and they want to know what you're feeling, because we realize it's the
Mhm.
inside
Yeah.
what's going inside is what reflects what's going on the outside.
Mhm.
Okay. Because your mind, you can't see your brain, but you think. Everybody
Yeah.
follow me? You can the emotions, you can only see them displayed through your physical actions. So that
Mhm.
lets me know that your internal reality is more vital, more important than your external reality.
Mhm.
And so,
That's good.
and so, that means that, and this is the key thing, is that there has to be, somebody type there in, there has to be a pursuit of self awareness. There
Mm,
has to be a pursuit of self awareness. Understand what that means. You said, sure, what that means. Understanding the real you. And then you need to ask yourself the following questions: is your character trustworthy?
wow.
That's deep, ain't it, Pamela?
Yeah, that's good.
Is your character, to yourself, is your character trustworthy?
Mhm. Are you what your expectations are for that other person? Can you bring those same expectations for yourself?
Ooh,
Yeah,
ooh.
because we'll have a laundry list of what we want them to be about
Mm-hmm,
and what they need to have and what they need to do. And
mm-hmm,
we may not have but two or three things on that list that we could bring, but we may have a long list
mm-hmm,
for what we want that man to do and vice versa. So you have to make sure, can you sit at the table and meet each other at that table and have the same expectations?
mm-hmm,
And sometimes some of those expectations need to come off the list because, as our good friend Patrick Brown had shared one time with me, is that a man is not a list, a
mm-hmm,
woman is not a list.
mm-hmm,
And so we have to keep that in mind as we are in a marriage or as we are dating or getting ready to date. You may say, oh, I'm going to make me a list, but you have to remember that person is not a list.
mm-hmm. Thank you, Natalia. Then
Yeah.
the next one, it says this is number. It's who is. Do you have a good track record with yourself?
Yeah.
Do you have a good track record? That means the same as you're keeping your word. You're faithful.
Are
Are
you honest?
Are you honest? Do you have a good track record with yourself? That's number two. These are questions that you need to
Yeah.
analyze and ask yourself. So, number
Mhm.
one, is your character trustworthy? Number two, do you have a good track record with yourself?
Yes.
Number three, do you keep your word with yourself? Do you keep your word? Do you lie to yourself? See, that's it.
Mm.
We don't even
Mhm.
we don't even think. Do you lie to yourself? You say,
Yeah, can you keep up with
uh,
them? Because sometimes they'll lie so much they can't keep up with
right.
what they
Yeah,
said.
because if you
Yeah.
tell yourself that you're supposed to do something, you don't do it or whatever, that's a lie. So you,
Mhm.
because
So,
it's
yeah.
it is. And then then the next one, Pamela says, um, what are your self intentions? Somebody write that. What is your self
Mhm.
intentions? We
Interesting.
always think about what the intentions of others, but what is your intentions for
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah.
These are
Because
questions.
it starts with you
Yep.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
If you cannot trust yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be able to trust anyone else. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
first ask yourself,
Mm-hmm.
can I trust myself? And don't be so in a hurry. Just take it slow
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying to retrust each other again.
Mm-hmm.
Take it slow. You're
Mm-hmm.
not in a marathon. You
Mm-hmm.
guys are building something great and you don't want to miss any screws or bolts
Ooh,
along the
yes.
way. You want
Yes.
to make sure you are putting the screw in the right place so that way you don't your house is not torn down again, your relationship is not torn down again because you're going back talking about something that's old and you never really talked about it. So when things bother you, if you're in a relationship now and if there's some trust at stake, if it bothers you, have that needed conversation with the person that broke your trust. Let them know what they did that bothers you, and you can tell them in a loving way, and that way they're aware of it, and so they'll make sure. Oh, that's what it was that Elber said. They'll make sure that they're not gonna put themselves in a situation to trigger you.
Mm.
So
Well,
that was good.
Pamela, but here's my question. What if you tell the person and they
Hmm.
continue to do something to violate your trust?
So then multiple betrayals is letting you know automatically that this person is not trying to do a behavior change. And so I can't tell you what to do, but if they're not going to make the behavior change, you have to make up in your mind, are you going to stay in an unhealthy relationship and be in your health be at stake? Because your health is going to be at stake and it's going to get not only headaches, it's going to get worse to some diagnosis that you probably didn't think you were going to get. Or are you going to politely bow out and say, this is not the relationship that I need for myself? You don't have to put it back on that person and say, and you need to do this and you need to do that. And I better see it by this date. No, you say, hey, this is not healthy for me. This is what I really need in a relationship. And so I feel like that you're not able to give that to me. So I'm going to gracefully bow out of this relationship. And then you start your journey to healing and knowing that you are going to meet somebody that's going to be healthy for your soul.
Hmm. And you know, and I even think, I mean,
Yes.
and I even want to say, for those who are contemplating marriage, listen to me very carefully. And why Pamela and I are doing, we would say that we're not finished with this, is that when, say, for instance, if you were intimate with somebody and you know you had, you know, haven't got married or whatever, and say, for instance, how do I want to say it? When you get a person that does not
Yes.
recognize the royalty on the inside of you. That's what I want to
Yes.
say. When they don't recognize the queen or the king on the
Mhm.
inside of you, and they make you come down to acknowledge the peasant behavior. I'm not saying they are a peasant, but the peasant behavior, then that's a
Mhm.
pretty much a sign not to marry that person, because you can't even, that's it. Thank God that you cannot even trust them with your soul.
No. And don't even don't go
Hmm.
back
Hmm.
to that relationship, because I guarantee you, if you have a 20-minute conversation with them,
Hmm.
or if someone else knows them, they'll be able to come back and tell you exactly what that person is doing. Not that you're asking it, it just come up in conversation, and you'll be able to spot whether they are working on themselves and improving, or if they still stuck doing the same behavior.
Hmm. And you know, a couple more things, and there's a list. And Pamela, if you want to add, but
Yeah.
we can go on the third week. But you know, it's it is. But a couple more things. And here's the question I want you to ask yourself, audience: can I trust myself enough that I'm not going
Mhm.
to get into a relationship that is not built on trust?
Yes.
So I'm gonna say it again. Can I trust myself enough that I'm not going to get into a relationship that is not built on trust? If the relationship is not built on trust from the very beginning, that
It's
is
over.
it's over. It's
It's
over.
over.
And then Pamela, I was reading this article, and it says that you have to know the relationship between trust and control.
Ooh,
Ooh.
I forgot that part. That's on my list. Go for it. I'm gonna let
No,
you explain it.
you know, and what I
Hmm.
mean, sometimes as trust decreases, listen to me quick, the need to control increases. And unfortunately,
Yes.
intense control only lowers trust. Trust
Hmm.
is with yourself to identify the interaction between trust and control in your relationship.
Yes.
By
Yes.
lowering your need to control, you could find yourself feeling more trusting and trusted.
Yes.
That's good.
That's it. That's so
When
good.
a person is trying to
Hmm.
control your every actions, you can't do this, I want you to be home at a certain time, then see, they
Hmm.
have trust issues themselves.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And Pam, hit on, go ahead and hit on that. I
And
just
I
thought
would
I'd throw in.
say, yeah, no, that is excellent. And I would say this also: if you are the one that the incident happened towards you and broke your heart, you will find yourself trying to control that person because you want to make sure that you're not going to give them any room to do what they did again. And
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna be harmful to you,
Mm-hmm.
harmful to your emotions and to your health, and you're not going to be able to be productive in anything that you're doing because you're going to be always focused on what that person is doing. And honestly, you really don't want to live a life of feeling like you have to control a person, because that creates anxiety. And
Mm-hmm.
with anxiety, it comes with a whole host of things, that happens to you. And you'll find yourself, if your anxiety gets too worse, you will find yourself not even being able to socialize around other people because you lost that socialization. Because what anxiety does is it keeps you away from people, because you're afraid to go into places where you think that that trigger may happen again, or somebody may bring up to you that, oh, I saw such and such over here. You will avoid people and places
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to find out other things, but then on the other end you're trying to control the person, which makes it unhealthy for you. I know that's a lot, and I didn't break it down probably the best
No,
way,
you
but
did. That's perfect. Mhm.
it's just, you
It's
don't
too
want to live a
much.
life. It's just too
And
much.
Pam,
It's
and
too much.
it's too much. And because when you're trying to control a person that you know that messed up your trust or whatever, then
Yes.
then your mouth become like a whip. You
I
know,
mean, a
and then and
real whip.
a whip that brings up your past, and you keep whipping that person. You keep whipping that person to
Hmm.
bring them down. Like you will never do this again.
Constantly.
Constantly, and that
Mhm.
person, and especially when a person is trying to change and you keep whipping that
Yes.
person, bringing up their past,
Mhm.
that is not healthy. That is a form of
Not at
control.
all.
That's a form of
Yes.
that really is a form of control. um Ooh, that's a lot, Pamela, isn't it?
That was a lot. I know people, but it's just the truth. I'm just
Hmm.
gonna be honest with you. You don't want to live that life. It's not healthy.
Anybody want to type any questions in the audience before we'll give you time? We're going to let Pamela talk about the counseling services that
Mhm.
are available for you that you need services. If anybody have any question, go ahead and type it. Feel free. But always keep in mind that you can DM me at Cheryl_Masterpiece Women.
Yes.
If you have questions, if you see the topic, then DM me and let me know what the questions. I won't say your name. Just say from Texas or whatever. Give me a
Mhm.
nickname, Cutie Pie, or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
And then we would love to read the questions and answer them accordingly. But
Yes.
Pamela, tell them about the services and I give somebody if they have any questions.
Yeah. So that made me think about really quick before I go in there how I was getting some responses from people that did do the attachment quiz,
Mm-hmm.
and they recognize that they need to do some more extra work. You know how you can kind of think that you on a roll and you good and you healthy, but
Mm-hmm.
then you'll get a I call it a spiritual black eye.
Uh-uh. 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 Uh-uh.
And then you'll say, "Oh, I need to work on that." So make sure you guys do try that. But as far as therapy, you can go to your if you have private insurance, you can go to your member service website, or you can call and ask for a list of some therapists in your area. There's platforms. You have therapy for Black girls. You have Psychology Today. Some people may go to Better Health. You know, I have never worked with anyone that has experience, getting therapy through BetterHelp, but I see it advertised, so it must be, a reputable place. So there are many platforms out there, but again, I am familiar with Therapy for Black Girls and Psychology Today, and they have their bios on there, like I said, and you can choose which person you want to do a consultation. Some people offer free consultations, and that's where you can get to know the therapist practice and how they go about to do their services for free without having to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Also, we want to let you know that start telling your friends. If you have friends that are not on Instagram, we are live on Facebook and we're live on
Yes.
YouTube. And
Hey,
you,
Facebook,
yes,
YouTube.
and you can ask questions on there that we can also see
Mhm.
on that. And take this and start sharing now. I need some people to start sharing now to your other friends. That is so important, so we can expand our authentic talk family. That is a big thing because what we're doing,
Yes,
we're developing a community that is
we
determined,
are.
aren't we, though? That is determined
Yeah,
that we will master life rather than life mastering us. And we hope, Pamela and I hope, and we do believe that this
yeah,
information was very useful for you. And once again, share it with others. And
yeah.
we will
And
not,
thank you guys for sharing.
yes. And
Yeah, we appreciate it.
we will not be on next week. Pamela, thank you, Pamela, because she's decided to do it this week because every fifth Tuesday we're normally off. But I have Mr. Brown is keynote speaking in Texas. I have to speak in Texas. I
Woo-hoo.
know. God bless. We're on the fourth reprint of mini hats, so they're going to be sold at the conference, and so we will be
Nice.
working this week. So we will not be Authentic Talk will not be on next week. The following week on the 11th, you do not want to miss, is
Mhm.
Dr. Hugh Beatty is going to be in the house. And we're going to
Yes.
talk about how do your emotions affect your health. Thank you,
Mhm.
Bernadine. How does your emotions affect your health? So if you
Mhm.
have any health issues, you have any questions, you better DM me. So somebody said, I love that book. Thank you, Queen.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, DM me the questions that you may
Mhm.
have, or you can do it in the comment box because he's going to be answering a lot of questions, but he's going to provide relevant information. So
Yes.
everybody continue to have a beautiful evening, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.